Thank you, guys. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. The idea behind this was not to do like a branded thing where we're talking about Real McCoy and that kind of stuff. This is really about an educational piece. I developed this specifically for bartenders because I travel around. I've spent most of my career, 20 plus years in the film business, doing a lot of things that were produced on television and released theatrically. I used to own a company called Warren Miller Films. We make ski movies and snowboard films all over the world. And I've done a lot of films for PBS over the years. So primarily now I'm doing documentaries for PBS. And as I've traveled around the country talking to different bartenders, people are always talking about brand building their own personal brand within their market, trying to get on TV. I got an idea for a TV show, I got an idea for a radio program, that kind of stuff. People come up to me with that all the time, and that's what gave me the idea to talk about this. So instead of flogging you with our how great Real McCoy is, all that silliness, I wanted to give you something you could actually take away and utilize in your careers. So the point of it is to look at either your personal brand as a bartender or your bar or your bar program if you're the bar manager, if you're the bar owner. That's the concept behind this. And what I'm going to talk about is preparing for brand building across television, radio, print, and internet. So that's video logs, blogs, you name it, anything you want to do like that, podcast. It's all the same basic precepts. So I focus on TV quite a bit in here because it's the most complicated one to do of them all in terms of preparing for it, and pitching and things like that. But you can take these basic ideas and put them across any concept that you may have. So I've been doing films for a long time. That's me looking like an idiot at the Emmy Awards. I did a documentary film called The Real McCoy, and it ended up winning 5 Emmy Awards back in 2013. It was kind of a funny moment because the network didn't like the original pitch for the film. So when I pitched them on it, they said, well, we don't really think we're interested in this story of rum runners and prohibition and things like that. And so they didn't give me the money to make it, but I loved the idea, so I went and made the movie anyway. And I just fit it in wherever I could. It took me a long time, several years, I think almost 4 years to complete. And so I had to write it, direct it, edit it, be the cinematographer, be the producer. And I finished the film, showed it to them. They said, we love it, and they got it. They put it on the air, and it was nominated for writing, directing, producing, editing, and cinematography. And then, and I didn't know that any of that had transpired. And then so they invited me to the Emmys, and Jennifer, my lovely wife Jennifer, who's back here somewhere, is our co-founder. Jennifer and I started the rum company together, and she's the art director on all of our films. And we got to go to the Emmy Awards, and then we won for all 5 disciplines, which was insane because it was the first time in the Academy history that one person won for 5 different disciplines on the same film. So it was really crazy. So going up there one time to make a speech is like incredibly nerve-wracking. By the 5th one, I'm like thanking the FedEx guy and my 3rd grade teacher and all that. It was really silly, but that's kind of, gives you a little bit of the sort of background on me. One thing that I always think about in terms of how I present myself, my brand, whether it's the rum company or my film company, my films, I always, this one statement from Livingston Taylor, who is James Taylor's brother, is a really great quote. And he was actually an instructor for our son, Finn, who's a musician. And he said, it's sad to be ready and not be called, but it's tragic to be called and not be ready. And that is extremely prescient, really important, because you do get these opportunities in life, and if you're ready for it, you can just absolutely take advantage of that situation. The idea is we want to talk about brand building and preparing for these types of things. So, what's the purpose of media training, right? Media training is essentially, the design is to be prepared, right? So if you're going to go in front of a camera, knowing how to talk in front of a camera, little simple things like not rocking back and forth while you're talking, which lots of people do nervously, or they'll move their hands too much and things like that. So the idea is to figure out why these things are important to us and for what purpose for you, primarily to build your brand. How many people here are interested in building their brand personally as a bartender in their community, getting more well-known within your community? Show of hands. Anybody? There you go. Quite a few. Okay, there you go. So the idea is, as you do this, you are building an audience that recognizes you or recognizes your bar program or your bar in general. So by having professional media capabilities, you're able to really further that in a much bigger way than you can just by your regular friend group. So, the preparation of this is everything, and to be able to have longevity, to be able to build your brand over a long period of time requires a certain level of discipline to this. So it begins with story development. Now think about it this way. If you are a story, right? Every individual is. Where you grew up, what you do for a living, how you got there. All those are really important components. So the idea is, to come up with newsworthy concepts. So let's say you want to develop an idea that you want to get on a local radio or TV station. You might come up with ideas for holiday cocktails or do-it-yourself home bartending. You might have written a recipe book, or you might be interested in nutrition and cocktails, or any kind of spin that is you, right? That's the idea. So you want to have a differentiator and a reason for you to be going up to this media outlet and saying, I want to do this, and I want to get on your show, or I want to have my own show. So the thing you have to ask yourself about whatever your angle is it timely? Is it informative? Is it unique? And will the media want to discuss it, right? So if it's just all about you, they're not going to be that interested. But if you're bringing a certain skill set to something they want to talk about, that's the best way to position these things. And so the next thing is looking at your pedigree. And this is usually the big impediment for most people because they might not have had any experience in media. So they can't walk in and say, oh, I've won 5 Emmy Awards. Will you take a meeting with me, right? So how do you get to that place? You can start in really, really straightforward ways and build up over time. You can find local newspaper, find the Hollywood Gazette and write an article about DIY cocktails or whatever your concept is and get it printed up in there a couple times. And from there you can move into the next step up in the media chain and say, I'm here to do this presentation on X, and my background is my pedigree. Oh, I've been writing for the Hollywood Gazette for a while, that kind of thing. So you kind of build your steps up is one really straightforward way to do it. So if you're an award-winning bartender, that's another great way to do it. That builds your pedigree. You're appearing on shows, your friends have blogs or podcasts or things like that, you want to appear on those. And basically understanding the media landscape is really important because these are foundational skills, but the media needs news stories all the time. They're desperate for it, especially on the local level. So it's really easy if you get good at this to get on the air all the time, radio, TV, that kind of thing. And again, I'm just sort of pushing toward radio and TV because it's the most complicated of the process. If you want to start your own blog, it's a lot easier to do it, but a lot of these precepts will still work for you. So crafting your pitch is hugely important. Being able to put something together in a very concise way. It's just like doing a resume for your idea, right? When you write your resume, the idea is put all your information on one sheet of paper. Don't bore people with lots of paragraphs of stuff. You just want to say, I did this, I got it done then. Now, same idea. One pager describing your concept. And your concept might be, DIY cocktails for the gluten-free dad, for Father's Day, right? Father's Day is coming up in 2 months, let's say. You're ready to go pitch some local media. I'm going to come up with a Father's Day cocktail. You go pitch them on that idea. Make it really simple for them to understand. So explain why this is a good idea for them. And then once you get in there, who are you and why should the network care about what you have to say? Well, I write for the Hollywood Gazette and people know me in this area, so that's a good way to go. Or I'm a multi-award winning cocktail person. I've won a bunch of cocktail awards. So those are good ways to think about that. And then, as you put this together, these are the basic, simple things. What's your primary idea? Why is it good for that media outlet? Why should they care about putting this on the air? And then give them your recipe and show them a photo of your cocktail, right? But remember one thing, every presentation you make on any level is a representation of you and your brand. So if you take a shitty photograph, they're definitely going to say, well, they didn't really go about this the right way. Maybe this isn't the right person for us. We want people who are really detail-oriented, work hard, and all that kind of stuff. So you want to take a good picture, always represent your brand. And then give them your contact information, really straightforward stuff. There's so many programmers, so many editors looking for new material all the time, and they just don't have the ability to collect it all. This makes their life easy. So delivering your pitch, this is hugely important. Researching the media outlets that work for your idea. If you're going to do a Father's Day thing, you might not want to go talk to Bloomberg, right? They're talking about news and financials and stuff like that. They might not sit there and do a feature on Father's Day cocktails, but you might find another television station or radio station that might be more applicable for that. So think about it that way. Bloggers, same thing. And anybody you can get a little time with just builds your pedigree, builds your resume in terms of that. So getting in touch with them, another huge impediment for most people. The unknown is scary to most of us. So just like, how do I get in touch with the folks at CNN? I drive by the CNN building in Hollywood every single day. How can I go in there and talk with them? Just go in the door. Go to their website, look for submissions, right? They've got all these mechanisms for you to communicate with them if you do it the way they want you to do it. So just go in and talk to them, give them a call, go on their website. You can find ways to get into any media outlet you want to and make a presentation. So if you have friends that are in that landscape, definitely talk to your friends. They might be able to help you get in. Knocking on the door is my favorite. You know, one of my things about my stories about getting in the film business, I grew up in Mystic, Connecticut, and when the movie Mystic Pizza was being made, has anybody ever heard of Mystic Pizza? Yeah. So that was the first movie that I worked on. And growing up in town, I knew, you know, I was born and raised there. I knew everything about the area, and I read in the newspaper, I think I was about 17 or 18 years old, and I read in the newspaper that this film company was going to come make a movie, and I'd always wanted to work in the film business. So I called the Samuel Goldwyn Company in LA and said, you know, I want to work on the movie. And they said, oh, the producer's arriving today at the Hilton Hotel in Mystic. Go talk to him there. So I just got in my car, drove over there. I'm wearing like flip-flops and a bathing suit, you know, dressed for success. And I go to the guy at the front desk and I said, what room are the movie people in? And he said, I can't tell you what room somebody's in. And I slapped $5 down on the counter. And the guy laughs at me and he pushes the $5 back and said, you know, they're in room 106. Get out of here. You know, one of those guys. So I go knock on the door, and Mark Levinson's the producer, a very famous guy at the time, opens the door, he looks at me and goes, what? And I just said, I grew up here, I know everyone, I know where everything is, you have to hire me. And I worked on Mystic Pizza with him, Home Alone, Feds, a whole bunch of different movies over the years. He ended up being a big mentor of mine. But if I hadn't just gone and knocked on the damn door, I never would have gotten probably where I am today in the film business. So it's these funny little opportunities that if you just take the step, it could make a big difference in your life. So, you know, getting in touch with people is really important in that regard, and just be bold. You know, just go for it. If you're really passionate about it, you can make it happen. So the next thing is, organizing pitches can be pretty complicated, and if you have a complicated story, like our story of Bill McCoy and the rum runners of Prohibition, you know, the Real McCoy rum, it's a pretty complex story, right? So I try to figure out ways in which I can present this story to different media outlets to get media attention to help build the brand. So I've got, for example, the history story, and this is Bill McCoy and rum runners and Prohibition and all the stuff that he did. You know, he never cut the alcohol. He was the first guy to fill up a boat full of rum down in the Caribbean, sail it up to New York City in 1920 and act as a floating liquor store 3 miles offshore, which was not illegal, right? It was because he was in international waters. So it's a fun story. So if I'm looking at media outlets that are history-based or might be more interested in the historical aspect, I'll pitch this idea. Then there's like the craft aspect, the business aspect. You know, I'm a filmmaker turned rum maker. You know, went down to Barbados and met Richard Seale, who's like the Pappy Van Winkle of rum making these days. He's an amazing guy. And getting into the whole concept of how the product is made, that might be more interesting to, let's say, like a Bloomberg or a news channel or somebody along those lines that does finance and business. And then over here, we've got more of the story of like how the rum is made specifically and how rum is classified. That might be more like for you guys, you know, an industry presentation. Hey, we don't add any sugar, and we have real age statements and that kind of stuff. So I break it down for different groups specifically for this reason. If they're going to give me like 3 minutes, I can get this speech done in 3 minutes at a historical type venue or a business venue or a industry venue. But you can also expand that. You can add this to this, and now I've got 10 minutes, and I can add that now in 30 minutes, right? So taking your story and really understanding your story and being prepared is everything. Because if you can stand up in front of people and confidently look around the room, give your story, people connect with that, right? And that's building your brand. But if you're like nervous and standing there and you don't really know how to say this exactly the right way, you need more training time, right? That's the way to think about it. That's not bad. That just means if you can recognize that, you can figure out how to do this, get in front of your friends, get in front of your colleagues, do your pitch over and over again. You'll get really good at it, and you can just nail it and get an audience. It's really interesting. So let's say your pitch about the Father's Day cocktail wins, and they say, come on the show, you're on, right? So welcome to the show. Here you are. What do you do next? Most people are like, great, I'll be there on Wednesday. Click. You don't recognize that you should be asking lots of questions at that point, right? What you want to know is, you know, what you should expect from these guys. Number one, they might want to edit what you have to say. You may or may not like the way they want to edit that, so you have to make those decisions personally, but it could happen. Another one is there's probably not going to be any pay, but it's good publicity for you. So there's still your benefit. So don't get all fixated on, well, how much am I going to get paid? Most of the time for this type of thing, you're not going to get paid anything right now. But you could build your way into being an Anthony Bourdain or an Andrew Zimmern and have your own show and things like that if that's really your goal. So another thing is the opportunity to come back more. That's a really important goal that you're trying to get. And they may actually ask you to sign release forms. Don't be afraid of release forms. Most of the networks and radio stations have way more to lose by stealing your idea than they do if you know, but they just present you with these documents so they can actually show the program. That's really what they mostly say. Some people get really scared with these things, but they're usually pretty straightforward. I've literally dealt with thousands of these release forms. And you can recognize most of the time it's just fine to sign that stuff, but you should read it. So questions to ask before the shoot. What should I wear if you're going to be visual, right? Hugely important. Things that are like red shirts, striped shirts, green shirts. Usually cameras don't like those kinds of things. When should I be there is a hugely important question, because they'll say, oh, you're going to be on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Well, they might need you there 2 hours before that, right? And you show up at 8 and they're like, you're not even going on. We blew you out. So you want to know that kind of stuff. Confirm the address. How long is my segment? Oh, we're giving you 1 minute. And you think, oh, I'm going on a half-hour show. Now how do I adjust for that? These are very important questions you should be asking. And if you're going to be making a cocktail, do you have access to everything you need? Because they might not even know what you need. So if you roll in with all kinds of stuff, but you need a sink and you need ice and you didn't bring that stuff, you're assuming they might have that stuff. It'll get all messed up for you. So you want to think about that stuff. It's pretty obvious, but you understand the point. So being prepared is everything when it comes to the media. So sitting down and writing everything is the way I do it, right? Because it helps you organize your thoughts, but also by writing it down, it helps you memorize it. So the more times you write it down, the more times you refine it, the better you'll get at saying it, which is hugely important. Breaking down into sound bites, I already talked about this, and practicing those sound bites are hugely important. Here's why. You know, when you're on camera with somebody and you're pausing, those hosts are media trained to such a magnitude that they know not to allow a single second of downtime. Watch Jimmy Fallon. He's fantastic at it. The second that he'll literally not even give a full breath to the person who he's talking to. If they don't respond, he'll immediately change the subject and already have things to say. He's got a headset on and other people are talking, the producers are talking to his ear saying, say this, say this, say this. So he's always able to keep the energy going and always able to keep information flowing. So if you're umming and ahhing and I don't know and you're breathing too much and all this stuff, they'll jump right in and they'll change the subject on you. So you'll be talking about Father's Day cocktail. Well, what about Mother's Day? You know, last month I was on Mother's Day and you've just been cut out of the show. So your 1 minute just got cut down to 15 seconds until you paused so many times that they now just cut you out. And they'll start talking among themselves with the other people on the show. Oh, sorry, time's up. Thanks very much. Commercial break. You're out of here. And they won't bring you back. So recognize that that's the business that they're in. So if you know that's what's going on, you got to be ready for that. So just be tight is the idea. Be practiced. One really important one, you see this all the time with politicians, is the finger technique. Has anybody ever heard about this? It's a way to remember 10 subjects. You can do 20 if you're really good at this, but 10 subjects that you repeat over and over and over again. If you're doing the same pitch all the time, like I did this presentation at USBG regional meetings. I went to all 5 of them. So I had to give the same speech all the time, back to back, you know, as I went around the country. So you do that so many times, you realize, did I say this already? Because I said it yesterday and I don't remember where I am. So the finger technique is you might have 10 subjects. So you start with a closed fist. And as you do your first comment, your first statement, hi everybody, I'm Bailey Pryor. I started in the film business and here's me looking like an idiot at the Emmy Awards. Number 1, I raise my thumb, right? So you see politicians doing this all the time. 1,000 points of light, right? They're on their second media training, or their second talking point. They'll then release that finger. You'll see them start doing this. Then they'll release that finger as they get through each speech. Imagine being a politician where you're doing this 3 times a day for like a year running for president. You've got a teleprompter, but you're still doing the finger technique. Some people do it. Comedians are really special at this. They pick positions on the stage. So this position is zone 1. This is joke 1. And then I'm talking and I finish that joke and you're laughing. I get my drink of water and I go over here to zone 2 and I do my next joke. They're doing this over and over and over again. So they don't know where they are in their speech half the time because you get so into it. And eventually you can realize I'm standing here. I just finished joke 2. Go back over here. This is joke 3. I move up there. That's joke 4. I come back here. That's joke 5. Right? So people are doing this in their minds. This is what good media training is all about. So, you know, and the most important thing on any speech, any public speaking situation is to know your opening line. Right? How many people here get nervous, honestly? How many people get nervous when you have to speak in public? Raise your hands. Okay. So that's perfectly normal. The thing about speaking in public is knowing that first line. If you have that first line, it usually starts everything off after that. Most people get stalled on that very first statement. You might know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about you. You're talking about your idea. You've written this down. You've practiced it, right? So you're not worried about if you get too lost in the subject. You're just worried about, what is my opening line? Hi, guys. Thanks for inviting me here. I really enjoy being with you guys. That's my opening line. After that, I can just start, right? But if I don't know that opening line, I might, this guy's trying to get by me, and where was I? What do I say? You get a little confused. That's usually where people trip up. More on that in a moment. So what I always do when I'm coming to do an event is I arrive early. Did you see me come blazing in here 2 seconds after you sat down? No way. I want to be here. I want to know the room, make sure our camera crew's set up, get everything set just right. So you want to be ready. You want to know the space. If you're on television, most of the time they're rolling by the time you even get there, so you don't know, like if it's live TV, you don't know where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, and what other people's expectations are. They can't sit there and talk to you about it so much. So you want to get there early enough to be able to know, where am I supposed to come in, where am I supposed to go. If there's a stage manager on a live show, that stage manager needs to visually see you at all times. You can't go hiding in the bathroom. They'll just go right past you. So if you can know some of these things, it really helps. So, most importantly, learn the host's name. There's nothing worse than sitting there for a minute or an hour with a host, and at the very end they're like, well, thank you, Bailey, for being on the show. And I'm like, thank you, you. That just sucks, and they don't like it, and they want you to recognize them. So it's really important that you know that host's name and you repeat that name. So looking at the room, all that kind of stuff's really important. Practicing your opening line, making sure you're ready to sit for hair and makeup. That's why they might want you there an hour ahead of time, things like that, if that makes any sense. And then, most of this is set up for television planning, obviously, because it's the more complicated of all these opportunities. So stage presence is really important, even on radio. Right? If you're doing a podcast, you want to smile, you want to have energy, you want to be there, right? You don't want to be all tightened up. You want to be like, in it, let's do this, right? So get yourself to that place. Learn how to do that kind of thing is usually quite important. Nerves are hugely important. They're very normal. What's happening is it's the fight or flight mechanism, right? So the same mechanism that if I pulled out a gun right now, half of you would run and half of you would want to fight and some of you would freeze, right? And what's going on right there is your brain is telling the adrenal gland to get the heck out or to subdue that guy, or you're not moving at all. And everybody reacts to these things differently, but that's essentially the primary 3 things that typically happen to people. So understanding that that's normal and isn't something you should be ashamed of is very important. So if you get nervous in front of large crowds, you might get shakes, you might turn red and flush, your voice might start to tremble a little bit. These are all completely normal things because your body is freaking out. The more you do it, the less it bugs you. So that's why practice in front of your friends, practice in front of your colleagues. That's why that's so hugely important. Breathing techniques are a great way to get by it. Making sure you always have water. I've got my glass of water right there. And recognizing one thing, that this audience is your friend, right? That station invited you. You guys came here today. You wanted to hear what I had to say, right? So I have to look at you guys and think, I'm not going to be afraid of these guys. They're not going to be super critical of me. They're my friends. They want to be here and they want to hear this. It's a whole different frame of mind to get into before you do these types of things. So if you get the voice tremor issue, does anybody have that problem when you start talking, your voice actually kind of tremors a little bit? Jennifer gets that. She just raised her hand in the back. The best way to deal with that is breathing techniques. So what you're doing is you're kind of suffocating or hyperventilating a little bit because you're nervous. So just breathe a lot before you go out there. And you see people, like stage actors, rehearsing and doing all that kind of stuff. Breathing techniques are really helpful with that. For physical shaking, a lot of people do that. So they'll pick something up, and if you have like a sheet of paper that you're reading from like this, you literally might be like this as you're reading the piece of paper, and that doesn't look great for you. So one of the great techniques to do is, if you're at a podium, grab the podium. Use your pockets. Settle down. Do the breathing technique while you're doing your delivery. Recognize that this is going on, and while you're doing the presentation, you can actually calm yourself down a little bit and talk. And after a little while, it'll go away, and you'll just be able to keep going, and it'll be great. So it's an important one to learn. Eye contact is also hugely important because people who are scared of the situation will often avoid the eye contact, and they'll be looking up here. And you guys would be very alienated and feel a little weird about me if I wouldn't look at you and I was just doing this the whole time, right? You want to make eye contact. And notice that I've picked the zones of the room. There's this zone, and this zone. So as I do this presentation, I'm making sure that I actually make eye contact with every person at some point during this presentation. It's really important that you can do that. Bigger crowds, you can't do it, so just go in the zone. And if you're on a stage with lots of lights and you can't see anybody, just pick the zone. You know they're out there, so just make sure you're looking around. Don't always look in the same place all the time unless they tell you to stare right into the camera. So some interesting techniques for that. So stage positions are also important for that, and a lot of times if you have the room to walk over to that side of the stage and make those people feel part of the conversation. In this case, it's harder for me because I don't want to walk in front of this for the camera. But if I never come over here and talk to you guys, you're going to feel a little left out, right? So the idea is to always engage with everybody. That is hugely helpful. Comedy is one of the best things to learn because it teaches you all of this stuff. Everyone thinks comedy is like so simple. It's the hardest art form out there in terms of live performance. It's amazing. And you can learn a ton from how they do that kind of stuff. So after the show, right, you've completed the program, what do you do there? Most of the time, this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, they just kind of leave the building, right? If you're in there and you've just done a show and you're now around all these people and you were just on camera, meet people, make friends. They all go into new jobs over time. This is just like any other industry. The more people you meet, you get to be friends with, you can now have more connections in this industry. So take your time, ask when the air date is, ask for a copy of the show, thank everybody, ask the producer if you can submit additional ideas, promote the show to your friends and family, build your brand, right? They'll tell all their friends, build your brand. That's the most important thing. So the big opportunity. There are no major bartending shows on television. There certainly have been shows, but not like cooking, right? Think about that for a second. So unlike cooking, there's no big hit bartending show. That's an opportunity. So think about that for a second. The audience is out there, but not the appropriate mix of talent and subject has yet occurred to really gain a very large audience. But it could be any one of us. I mean, Anthony Bourdain was a line cook, rest in peace. But he was a chef and ended up being, multi-millionaire television personality, really interesting guy who had a very difficult life and worked his way through all of that stuff and became what he really wanted to be. How amazing is that? How inspiring is that? So you can do the same thing. You can be that person in your industry if you want to. So why don't we have great bartending shows? Why aren't there so many just like there are cooking shows? Well, because there's a lack of bartending icons and personalities. Who's the biggest bartender that we all know of? Everybody knows their name. Dale DeGroff. How old is Dale DeGroff? Right? So none of the young demo, nobody out there that's the new Dale DeGroff. That's a opportunity for you guys. Home mixology is still very small. It's intimidating to a lot of people. They don't know, people are completely uninitiated to this industry, don't understand how to make cocktails, and it's a little bit, it's just like being a home chef. But cooking is a necessity. Bartending is a luxury. So people learn how to cook. Not everybody learns how to bartend, right? So we also don't have like a Bon Appetit or a cocktail magazine that's a major hit, the way you do with food. And there's the absence of a major media event that gets everybody kind of focused on cocktails. We don't have the Super Bowl of cocktails. We try to do things, the industry does things, but you don't get like big television in that, get consumers interested. So again, that's an opportunity. So I just went online and I Googled cooking shows, and look at all these shows that popped up, right? And then I did the same thing and I Googled bartending shows. Nothing popped up, right? I mean, there's like, you hear about things. There's a show, I think one's called On the Rocks and others like that, but they really haven't gotten to the magnitude that these guys have. So you definitely understand that there's a need for something like that. You could actually fill that niche. So become the agent of change is the idea. Invent your own brand. Come up with your differentiating point, right? And here's 3 good examples of that. So how are you different from other bartenders, right? You guys all are in the USBG. You all are bartenders, mixologists, however you want to style yourself. But what makes you unique among your crowd and among the other bartenders standing next to you, let alone other bartenders trying to start a television show, right? Anthony Bourdain, kind of a wounded former addict who goes out into the world and came out with a really amazing social commentary, right? That was his brand. Andrew Zimmern, chubby everyman guy, really likable, eats bugs and stuff, right? And then Guy Fieri lights his hair on fire and runs around screaming all the time, right? So, and there's other people that scream and throw pots and pans and stuff like that. So you see how this is branding. Those people didn't wake up today and say, oh, I think I'm going to just actually behave this way. They're doing this to build their brand. That's their television persona, like reality TV, right? Reality TV shouldn't be called reality TV because none of it is real. It should be called scripted argument, right? It's designed to specifically create arguments to get people to watch other people argue. That's what the whole premise of those shows are all about, which is fun and fine, you know. But the idea is you create these personas, you create this brand. That's what those people are doing, and they're really good at it. So find your niche. What media format is best for your niche? Is there an existing show that you fit into that you could get on that helps launch you? How do you submit your idea? Best places to go are submission websites, programmers and development executives. Those are the folks that will help you. And cross-promote. Promote the show to your fan base. That's how you become the agent of change in really simple terms. So the goal is, you know, to check out how you can become that conduit of information for that network. They need you, right? PBS needs people like me. They can't run their network if they don't have guys like me coming to them with show ideas. So if nobody goes to PBS because they can't get through the website or they don't want to knock on the door, they won't have any programming because they only have a staff that can populate probably 10% of their screen time. So they need you. All these magazines, all these television stations, radio stations, they all need you to come in with ideas. So just go for it. But basically, becoming a publicly recognized expert in your field is what's going to elevate your career. That's what's really important. It makes you more valuable to your bosses if you don't work for yourself. So if you're known in your community as like one of the top bartenders, you're more valuable to that bar owner. You should make more money. Right? If you're known nationally as a bartender, there's a lot of brands out there that might want to hire you to come do that if you want to be a brand ambassador. You can travel all over the world doing that stuff, and you can make a lot of money doing that stuff. So that's other opportunities. You can move in different directions. Different people have different goals. So opportunities abound if you build your own brand. So in conclusion, the concept is to develop your own story, write the pitch, be prepared. Most important, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. Then submit to the media, build your brand, and elevate your career. And if anybody wants to do a program or you have an idea and you just want to backstop it, you want somebody to read it and give you some feedback, feel free to email me, tell me about your concept. I'll help you guide you to a media outlet or help you refine your pitch. And that's basically what I have to say here today about media training. So thank you very much.
Thank you.